just going through that whole experience and knowing how much thought and intention really should go around an event like that. And having just gone through that, I was far from perfect in doing that. I absolutely made mistakes. But one thing I tried to make sure of was that my kids knew it was not their fault. And I'm so sorry that that was put on you, or that, again, your perception, your memories, that it felt like there was blame and that you carried the weight of that as an 8-year-old. Oh,
Yeah. And I don't want to take all the time here, but like in response to how, him saying that, our response was, I remember him coming back one time and he was sitting in a recliner. My mom was sitting on his lap and she was crying. And we had my 4-year-old sister, maybe 3, 4-year-old sister at the time, and my brother and I, and we pretty much like hid in the basement and we were as quiet as we could be. And once in a while, it was a split level. So once in a while, we'd sneak partway up the stairs and just look and see what was going on. But, I remember my brother telling me we had to be quiet because we didn't
oh,
want dad to have to yell at us. So, yeah.
how did that feel from your inner child perspective to have you come and say that to her, that it wasn't your fault?
I think she felt more, I think, safer and protected just because, in that moment, then like all the what ifs and what are we going to do? And, you know, like I have pictures of me when I'm about that age before any of that, like snuggling with my dad on the couch and doing this with my dad. And I know I was close to him when I was younger. And it's weird because I think he just didn't know what to do with us once we got to a certain age, He didn't know how to bond with kids. And that just, yeah. So trying to make her feel, one, that it wasn't her fault, and two, that it's going to be okay. And there's a safe adult here for you to get you where you're going to go.
And that's hard too, because I can almost feel like a double abandonment, right? Of, here was my dad as I knew him, and for some reason he's not as close anymore, and now he's actually gone. And feeling like, what did I do? What went wrong? Oh, I was too loud. And then again, you can see how ego, or our adaptive child, as we're going to talk about tonight, starts to figure out, oh, I know what we need to do. We need to be quiet. We need to go in the basement. We need to, because then maybe he'll stay. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe he'll, yeah.
Yeah, the message is really clear. Be a good girl or
Yeah.
you'll get left, right? And parents' issues are never the result of child behavior, the result of their own things. So
Right. Our children can absolutely trigger us to our own wounds, but they're never
mm-hmm.
the cause of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, when we do this work that we're even doing tonight about the adaptive child, and we're looking at our own ways, it's very clear what his adaptive child also did in that moment was to deflect the fact that he was cheating, that he was an alcoholic, that he's the one that's leaving. I'll remove some of my guilt and shame, and I'm going to put it on you guys instead, because that makes me feel better about leaving. So his adaptive child also did some things. And I think that perspective can help us see people differently. It has me anyway. Thank you for sharing that. Keep giving her love, keep reminding her of that, because I'm sure, as we dive more into this work, you can continue to see how that good girl patterning is maybe still showing up in your life, or staying quiet, not speaking up, not rocking the boat. I mean, that very much, a lot of us still see that playing out in our adult lives, and like, oh my gosh, I'm still that little girl who doesn't want to act out and lose somebody, get in trouble. Yeah. And also, you know, when we're sharing like this, yes, we want to be able to get around to everybody, but it's likely that someone is hearing your story and it's reminding them of something, and it's bringing up something for them. And so know that your shares are really important, and trust that whatever comes out is supposed to, and the conversation will go wherever it's supposed to, because there might be someone else on here that's like, I needed to hear that. So.
Yeah. Plus, I think the message to Dana is often don't take up your space.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just did tonight. Yeah.
We can all give that little girl a hug. And thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to go and share a story or memory?
I can, I guess. I was trying to go like in the middle road of, like Christie said, like between like you didn't give me a candy bar or something super traumatic. And it was like middle school-ish. And I got my period. And I was terrified to go home because I lived with my dad. And it was embarrassing as a girl. So I went to my friend's house. Her mom tried to call my dad and like explain what was going on. And he was like, nope, she's grounded. I don't believe you. Send her home. So I just like, the memory like popped up just the other day again. And like, so I was like, okay, clearly that's what I need to share today. Right, Otis? And it just like brought up more feelings than I like thought that it would, I guess. And I just don't even know like where that all like sits with it, because it's like my mom lived in Tennessee, so like I couldn't like go to my mom, so I like went to my best friend's house and still was like no. So then I like just went home and went to my room and like never left. And that's kind of how the rest of like things when I lived with my dad went. Like it was just like, you don't believe me, and like this is a big deal. And it was like he just didn't even care. And I think I still struggle with like almost an embarrassment of that time of the month, even as a 43-year-old, from that little girl going through it for the first time.
Yeah. And there is a lot there. Like that, it's one of those things like, oh, it was just this moment, and our ego can downplay it and make it seem like it was just this one day and I got my period and this thing. There's a lot in there. I can see Christy nodding her head too. Like you unpacked that, and that in that one day that represented a lot of things. And just again, your mother not being there, being able to nurture you through a very feminine time to how can I feel safe and comfortable in my body when I don't know what just happened. That's a scary thing. And then to not feel seen or heard, trusted, and almost abandoned, that I'm having these big feelings and I'm scared and no one is here to support me and no one actually even believes me. And what that teaches you, there's a lot there. So yeah, absolutely allow yourself to feel that and to process that and to love on that little girl.
Thank you for that, because like that's just something that I've never like ever shared. And I think it clearly has impacted me in more ways than I ever thought.
And girl, can I just say I saw your post on Facebook? Like, I feel like the timing of that where you were like goddess vibing full on energy, like there's some healing that's happened there. And to continue to embrace that woman who showed up vulnerable, putting myself out there, like you made that little girl proud, like, I'm not hiding this feminine part of me.
And fun fact, I had my period that day.
Better. That is one of those, like, you can't make this up, because I don't always see, you know, how algorithms and stuff, I don't always see your stuff, and I just happen to see it. I was like, I stopped and scrolled on that. I was like, girl, how did that feel? I mean, could you take that energy, how you felt, and like allow her, that little girl, to feel that?
Yeah, it's a totally different, it was so empowering and so great to like feel that way and to like look back and see like from what that was to what it is now. Like it's really, really amazing to see. Like I'm proud of myself for like getting through all of it and showing up and continuing to keep going.
I know we're like skipping ahead to reparenting and stuff, but what you did already is showing up for her, and like even allowing her to feel that now, like I'm doing this work, I'm already here for you, showing up here for you. Maybe she just needed to share this whole story to hopefully like feel seen and heard by you and all of us, and let you witness that, right? And not have to keep that
Mhm.
quiet.
Thank
Ooh, love it. You want to chime in, Christie, on any of that?
Just how our period is such an important like turning point in our life, in our like acknowledgement of our feminine parts and our acknowledgement of like even a rite of passage almost and celebration. And for you to be not only not celebrated but punished, I hope that the next time you have your period, you do something to like really celebrate yourself.
Period party.
Period party. Yeah.
Tampons for everyone.
Yep. Yeah. Because it creates so much body shame, you know, around like our body's doing its normal woman thing. Yeah.
And I think I struggled with that, like, especially through school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just a really, you know, you just never wanted anyone to know, and you were like terrified and didn't know who to talk to or what to do. And that, I think that was like probably the hardest part, is just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody taught you how. I once was on retreat and I taught a 48-year-old woman how to put a tampon in for the first time
Oh,
because nobody had ever, ever, ever told her, showed her, or sat with her to do it. And she wanted to go swimming on retreat.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, and I will say the same thing to you. I said to Dana, when again, when I think of your dad's adopted child, I'm like, I don't know how to deal with that, so I'm just not. And it likely isn't that he didn't care. I mean, somewhere in there, I'm sure, like, I want to, how do I help support her? But his ego, his adopted child blocked him too. Like, this is uncomfortable, so I'm just going to shut it down. And that is an awful feeling, because then your adopted child and ego creates this story like he doesn't care, doesn't believe me, trust me. And then again, here you are in your later years, still feeling the effects from that. That's why we're here, to change that, though. I mean, if you want to, if it feels aligned, to share those pictures in the group, because I think we can all celebrate that if you want to. That was awesome. Cool. Anyone else want to share? And yeah, not everybody has to either. So, or if you want to put it in the chat too, you can, or you can write it in the group later. But if you're feeling called to be seen on here, please do.
I'm just going to share something that wasn't about the visualization, but got triggered with Lindsay with your story because when I got my period, I actually had pretty good support at home. My dad was an OBGYN and my mom was a nurse, so home was covered. But for some reason, some friend, frenemy, whatever you want to call it, not friend, decided it was funny to have over the PA system at my junior high school an announcement made about me and that I'm a woman now over the entire school PA system. And I mean, honestly, until this very second, like I've never even given that any, I just totally suppressed it, like pretended it didn't bother me. I mean, look at, like, you can see my entire skin is getting red right now. Wow. I don't even know what more to say, but it just brought, like, maybe I need to, give that little girl some love.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all feeling that for you.
It's just such a violation of your privacy and your personal like boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely spend some time with her afterwards. And
Yeah. I think I've spent most of my life telling myself a story that I never had any trauma. Like that was the way I coped, was like, oh no, I had this great childhood and nothing bad ever happened to me. And in some ways, and it's like, then what's wrong with me now? Like, why do I have some of these issues that I have? Because I had this very great childhood. You think about like big T trauma, and I've just always said, oh, I never had any big T trauma. And what's wrong with me? Why do I have so many problems? And, so something like this like makes me look back and go, that's pretty traumatic.
Absolutely. Well, and what I have found, because I was very similar in starting this journey, was like I didn't resonate with big T trauma either. But when I allowed myself to look and validate my story, there were those moments. And what I have found too from a lot of people is sometimes when you had the perfect family, the Leave It to Beaver family, or my dad's a doctor and this, and we have this image to maintain, there's a lot of pressure put on kids to maintain that, to behave, to represent. And even in that moment, I can't imagine being in the hallway or wherever you were and to hear that, like, how do you not just burst into tears and go running away versus staying there and like laughing it off like everything's okay? I'm not sure how you responded in that moment, but I think a lot of us were like, how do I keep my cool about this and not make this worse? And I just suppress the fact that that was the most terrifying thing in that moment. We think about that stuff with our kids. And actually, I was at my daughter's 5th grade graduation and they're doing these little speeches. And this is their life. This is the biggest moment of their life right now. Their experiences in their life right now. And so all of those things are like a big deal. But when you can validate stories like that, you will absolutely see how it's like, that's why I am the way I am. Like, I learned to mask that up. Don't let anyone see that.
Yeah. I don't think I told my mom or dad. Yeah. And interestingly, some of this work is really interesting when your parents are both dead, because I don't have the opportunity to, like, I would love to, like, right now, if I had my mom, I'd love to be like, Mom, did I ever tell you that story? Or, and she would try really hard to, I think, listen and be there for me now, today. I think she would have even back then, but I just, for all the reasons we're talking about, I didn't feel safe to do that.
And that's the beauty of this work, is knowing that reparenting, you get to be that for her right now. Like, you are that for her right now. So when you go to her and you let her tell you, and you just did, you let that emotion come up through, like something about her story resonated, and you just spoke it to us. So basically you just kind of did that in a really beautiful way. Like, you're kind of the mother to her right now, and listened and held space for her and heard her in that, and felt that, like, wow, that must have been awful. You can still do that with your mom, even though she's
Yeah.
not physically here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, and that is the beauty of just what I said before, like someone else's story. So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Again, it's okay if you don't want to. I'm taking that as we're good. Speak now. I don't want to say our friend for older bees, because that's like, don't do
Can I-
that.
can I-
You know what I mean?
Can I just tell you my aha moment I just had? I mean, I've
Yes.
kind of had little aha moments like that throughout my life, but so, you go back there and you tell this little girl she's safe, and take her with you. And I think, Tami, you might know this about me from Facebook or whatever, but almost 11 years ago, I was working at the hospital, and two little girls came in who were severely abused and neglected. And the second I saw them, I knew I needed to be their mom. Like, the second I saw them. And fast forward 11 years later, I am their mom. And I was their half sister's mom for 2 years. And I don't know, maybe I'm kind of living through that. Because that's how this all started, was trauma therapy with them and working through these emotions and what their little inner childs were dealing with, children were dealing with, and all that stuff. But I never really thought about it that way. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm a nurse and all that other stuff. So it's like, I've always kind of done that. But here were two little girls, and nobody was going to do that to them. So I just had that aha moment for the first time really ever. So there you go.
Love that. Yes, that was no mistake. It was no mistake. And it's interesting how we can find ourselves in these reparenting moments. Like, I'm able to give them exactly what I always needed, or they introduced you to this work, because otherwise you might not have ever, become attuned to it or found it. There's no mistakes. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting phenomena too, that if you choose to be a parent and you have children, if that's the choice you make, when they reach a certain age that you had your event at, or things happen to you, there's an interesting trigger that then, because there's this realization of, holy cow, I was only 7 years old, or how is that like I was only 4, and you have like this new concept around, I would never place my child in that like experience. So then there's this whole new like perspective taking around it that's triggered often. So there'll be time to share if those that didn't share, if you feel called to later, because I know after you just have like a visualization experience, there's a lot of vulnerability, and you just met us. So that's okay. There'll be a chance to share, and you can even share in future sessions, like, hey, that second session that we were in and this came up, I wasn't ready to share, but I'm ready now. So there's no expiration on sharing. I just want to let you know that. All right. Well, thanks for doing the visualization. I just wanted to call in that inner child into the space. Tami did in class number 1 such a good job. with calling your inner child without any memories, but just like, hello, I'm inviting you into the space. And then that's just really, that visualization is just really calling that like wounded child part of you into the space. And so when we're wounded in those ways, like coming home and being punished for getting our period and not believed and not celebrated for the woman that you are, or you're called out, your privacy is called out, um or watching your parents' marriage fall apart and your dad blame you and then pull out of the driveway. When you're wounded in that way, you know uh, we human beings are a very survivalistic species, and we adapt to things, you know? And so we create adaptations out of dysfunction, whatever that dysfunction is, if it's little, middle, or big. And often that adaptation is what we call, what Tami will often refer to as the ego, what I refer to as like the adaptive child, the triggers that you were working on this week. And I think the important thing in the chat, I just put the words that are also in your workbook. How do we know if we're in our wise adult or adaptive child? And Tami and I were talking before as we were preparing for tonight, and I shared with her that when I do couples work, often couples will come in and they'll be like, we just want tools, or even individual work. Like, I just want a tool to like manage my stress, or I just want tools to communicate better with my partner. And if we don't do the inner child work, the tools that I hand them are like handing a child a pair of scissors to run around with without any instructions. And so that's how powerful I believe this work is for our relationships, for our relationships with colleagues, for our relationships with friends, for our future relationship with our parents if they're still on this earth, and for our relationship with ourselves. And so when you are learning tools, like, go back to, if you've done therapy before, tools that maybe were handed to you, and you kind of are scratching your head or feeling frustrated, like, therapy didn't work for me, or it was okay effective. Most likely it was because tools were maybe being handed to somebody that was in survival mode, or tools were being handed to somebody that was in their adaptive child, and they're kind of running around like, I don't know how to use these. Cut my sister's hair, and so it's really, I want you to just feel into, you are the women that are here today that said yes to you. And so you're saying, I want my wise adult to have the scissors and to use all the tools that I've been maybe given in various places in life, and to use them in a way that's for my wise adult, and take the scissors out of my adaptive child hand. And so we know we're in adaptive child mode if we see things, and any of you that have ever worked with me, you probably have heard me say this, but it helps to repeat. We know that we're in our adaptive child when we're in our black and white thinking, when we think that things need to be perfect or everything needs to be lined up just so. When we become relentless, I like to call it like a dog on a bone. Do you ever go to your partner and you're just like, no, I need to make my point, and I need to make it 10 different times in 10 different ways? That's your adaptive child, just a dog on a bone. When we become rigid, when we become harsh, I know when my adaptive, like, my tone will shift and I'll be like, this harsh thing. And yeah. And so I can like kind of do better job checking myself now. Like, okay, that's the adaptive child coming out. When we are hard on ourselves, or when we're hard on other people, um, when we are certain, like, there's no other way to look at it. There's no other lane I can be in. Like, I am certain. Do you ever drive with somebody and they just will not check the map because they're just so certain? You're in the car with their adaptive child. Tell them to pull over, put the adult in the driver's seat. When you feel tight in your body, And you might have, during the visualization, felt like a tightness. You might have felt like all those things when you, as the wise adult, kind of walked in the room and saw your inner child in that way. And you think in short term, I'm feeling pain right now. If I shoot off this text message to somebody who didn't invite me to their party right now, I will feel immediately vindicated. Or if I respond to that email immediately, because that email is making me feel icky, I will feel better. But the problem is, our first response to people or in that immediate moment is probably not our best self. And so we end up like destroying friendships, relationships, colleague to colleague, or even cause an emotional rupture in our relationship that's really hard to come back from. Like it needs a lot of repair. And the adaptive child thinks, well, this way of communicating is just really efficient. It gets the job done quickly. If I'm harsh, I can be efficient and then we'll be on our way. The problem is it's not efficient because the amount of repair that you have to do that next day or that next week or the months following that, the amount of repair is just more, like you've just 10 times your workload. So can anybody relate, or do you have any questions about that list?
I had joked with Christie when we were talking beforehand. I'm like, how many anecdotal stories would you like from me in this regard?
As
And
many
again,
as you got.
oh my gosh. Well, and I know some of you had said last time that if you listened to the podcast, the episode, not this week, but last week, about when healing gets hijacked. That's literally what the whole episode was about, as being in this new relationship and how my adaptive child just was blowing stuff up, abandoning myself because my adaptive child wants to stay silent, doesn't want to speak up. And so I got myself into trouble there. And then when my adaptive child made something that wasn't about me, I ended up hurting someone. And it was just like, oh my God. And so you're right, the amount of repair, it's that part, it feels exhausting. And that's like, oh, here we are again. So now, again, that, and I said that in that episode as well about that, sometimes we need to ask twice because oftentimes your adaptive child is the one answering first. Like, I'm fine, everything, I'm good. But if you asked again, then maybe that's when your inner child will be like, no, I'm actually not. I want to tell you. Or that first email, that first text, if you were to proofread it and let your wise adult be like, are you sure? You might want to change that wording. You might want to,
I
and
wait
now
24 hours if I'm triggered by an email or a text. My rule is 24 hours. I will not respond.
takes a lot, that takes a lot of willpower and just awareness to know
Wise
that I'm
adult.
probably, yes, absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
a story about going through separation. Was I had to send a really tough email and it took me a long time. Like I was procrastinating on it. I was avoiding having to send this email to my now ex because it was about the house and the money and all the stuff, which was very triggering. And I used the help of ChatGPT and said, please take out any passive aggressive tone and over emotion. And it came out. I was like, and he actually thought a lawyer wrote it because I mean, it still sounded like me, but it was so clear and grounded. And because he doesn't respond well when I'm overly emotional, it triggers him. And so he was actually able to receive what I sent, but I needed a filter because I was not in a place where my adaptive child was like, yeah, I can't send that. Even when I thought I was, back to my wise adult, there was still, she's like, I'm going to sneak in there, jabby jab. So when in doubt.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's move to the wise adult list. Like, how do we develop this then? So the biggest piece is when I know I can hand a couple a tool, like a feedback wheel or a repair, or um, here's a new way of like communicating and looking. Let's practice it in here. I know I can do that when I can see that even though sometimes the adaptive child shows up in sessions with us, the wise adult is there 80% of the time. And I also know that I can do that when they can see the separation. I think that's the important piece of this work, that you're going to carry your adaptive child. We're not going to abandon her ever again. Like, can we all make that agreement? She's with us. We got her. She's in the car with us. She's on our back, whatever. We're carrying her in our, arms. We're never going to leave her again. And we really want to show her a lot of compassion, spunk, and thankfulness for getting us through whatever that period of time was. And so we want to honor her and say, good job. Thanks so much. Without that part of me, without my losing strategy of being right or controlling, I don't know if I would have survived, right? So we want to make sure we make like peace and we're not throwing her out to the side of the road. But I think the important thing is when the wise adult is more in the room, whether that's in the therapy room or that's in your relationship room or the colleague room at work or wherever, you're going to have more success in your relationship with yourself and with other people. It's actually going to take maybe more energy and heavy lift in the beginning to be in your wise adult, because the adaptive child is like, she's in there. Like she knows exactly, like, oh, are you calling me to the task? Like she knows when you need her. But we're trying to get her to like, it's okay. I got it, girl. Like, settle down. I got this. Um, when we can make the unblendedness, like we can carry her with us, but she's not going to be driving the show. That's when the beauty of this work happens, because you're like, now you can use all the tools that are in your toolbox from a wise adult perspective, and you actually know how to like use them and manage them. So you're in your wise adult when you can be very nuanced, when you understand it's not black and white. Like the world doesn't work like that. People aren't good or bad. Situations aren't cruddy or good. I don't have to be happy all the time, but I also don't have to be angry all the time. There's nuances. There's black and white. There's shades of gray. And we can start seeing things from a more modulated place of like, okay, people at work are not out to get me. Sometimes I feel like people at work are out to get me. And sometimes maybe somebody is in their adaptive child and coming at me in that way that feels like they're out to get me. And maybe they are in that moment, but I can stay in my wise adult. I don't have to join them in their adaptive child. So we can see things very nuanced. We can be more realistic. We can be more forgiving in our forgiveness of ourselves and our forgiveness of other people. We can be more flexible in our thinking, but also our actions. It doesn't have to be just this way. Do you ever have a friend that is like, she always wants you to come her direction, but she never comes like your direction? She's probably in her adaptive child. Like she wants very rigidness in what she wants in the relationship. Wise adults are usually more warm and warmer tones, but boundaried. We're not pushovers. Wise adults are not like pushovers and like letting people walk all over you. But there's a warmness to being boundaried. And when you're first starting to do boundary work, it can come out really rigid and harsh, because it's like like a new pair of shoes, leather shoes that you haven't quite broken in. And so they're a little inflexible and harsh, and that's okay. But eventually you got to wear that in and they have to be a little bit more yielding. There's humility and humbleness. There's a relaxation in your body when you're in your wise adult, and you're more in it for the long-term thinking. So I'll give you an example. Like a couple weeks ago, my partner was definitely in his adaptive child, And the old me and my adaptive child meeting him there would have been like, this is it, we're done. Like he's acting like a child and I don't want this like project on my plate right now. And so that would have been like not in it for the long term. It would have been in it for like the immediate, this is uncomfortable, we're in an uncomfortable place. But for me, I know we're in it for the long term. And maybe I don't talk to him until he's back in his wise adult again. Um, but for right now, if I can stay in my wise adult and both of us don't go into adaptive child, we can get through this. And I'm in it for the long haul with him, right? And so I want to hear, I know, need to jump off. Okay, great. If you need to jump off, no worries. I'll get the recording out. I forgot to record that first part, darn it. But I will re-record it for y'all and you'll have that then. The visualization piece. But I want to hear like any kind of shares that you want to share regarding this list and if things are clicking for you, if you're feeling some light bulb moments and even reporting back like the homework that you had with triggers, how is this fitting in with that?
I can, I
Yeah,
didn't,
sure.
so I had to listen to the recording last time and I didn't quite get to it in time to do all of homework stuff, but I live in my adaptive child. And I also feel like part of why I'm here is I feel broken and I'm with Pamela and that I don't know why. I don't have a big trauma. And even my visualization, like I struggle with like some memories that I have are so vivid that I feel like I'm like in them,
Mhm.
but they're weird things. And like what came to mind was not a bad thing, but maybe brought up some of like, early people pleasing and things like that. And so part of why I'm here is that she takes over a lot
Mhm.
and it makes being an adult hard.
Yeah.
So I don't even, I got
Can I share,
emotional.
can I share something what I know about you?
Yeah.
You're an incredibly empathic person, and just being born as an incredibly empathic person can be traumatic because this world is not. And it's really your superpower, and it's also your kryptonite
Some
sometimes.
days it, yeah.
Yeah. And
Some
it's
days
why
it
you're in the
feels
profession you're in. You feel the cats, you know the kitties, you know what they need intuitively in your gut, in your heart. And being in the world with humans can sometimes be really hard. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's part of this work too. When we talk about boundaries, is how do I energetically protect
Yeah.
my energy? When
Mhm.
you're taking on, when you're an empath like that, and you are, and now you're around pets too, and you're taking on their emotions and people pleasing, like no wonder you feel like you're burnt out. Like that's a real thing. Is energetically, you have to daily. Like I'm brushing my teeth, I need to clear my energy. Before I go into work, I need to protect it. Before when I come home from work, I need to clear it because otherwise you are bringing everybody's stuff. And I mean, in that role, you're just naturally transmuting it, right? If people are feeling better when they're in your presence, you don't even know you have like this other full-time job you didn't even know you had, helping shift people's energy. But then if you don't clear that yourself, now you are taking on yours and theirs in a yeah, that'll lead to burnout real fast.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I bring it home and my partner is affected and that affects our relationship and it's hard and I don't know, I had another thought and then I lost it. But that's, I think that it's the boundaries. And Christy will be proud of me. I said I have to leave before 5:30. I'm technically scheduled till 6 o'clock, but my last appointment was at 5 o'clock, and I was in my car by 5:20. I just said,
Nice.
if she needs something other than what we talked about, just text me, but this is a priority and I have to draw a boundary here. And that was really hard, but I just ran.
Good for you. Yeah,
Celebrate
you took
that.
care of you. You showed up here on time, took care of you. The other thing that's coming to me that I just want to speak to, Shira, is a lot of times if we're highly empathetic people, we highly associate that with little girl energy. And there is a fear of adulting too much and losing that piece of us that's playful, that's empathic. And here's what I know, you can bring those characteristics into the adult world. You don't have to leave all of the little girl in you behind. And if you can figure out a way to separate like that empathy that was little girl empathy that made you dream big into vet school, you can bring that same into adulthood. In fact, the world needs you to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. We need that example. Because we think about all this inner child work. What kid wants to do homework and have to do chores 24/7? Like if there isn't play, if there isn't rest, our kids are they're going to lose their minds, but we do it to ourselves all the time. And so we have to implement that to be able to allow ourselves to get outside, to allow ourselves to tap back into some of those hobbies. And, if you think about, if you have a little bit of a commute on your drive home, a way to think about how can I clear this energy and tap back into her before I get home and see my partner. Maybe I'll turn on some of my favorite music. Maybe I'm going to turn on Shoop and I'm going to jam out, the rest of the way home and watch how that clears your energy. Now you go into the house, tapped into that, more playful. I'm not bringing my work home with me. It's little things like that can make a huge difference.
I might need to drive around a little bit. I only have a 7-minute commute.
Hey, whatever works. You can do that. Whatever you need. How cool. I mean, if I'm having a conversation with my daughter, she's not done yet, and I just keep driving. She's like, why did you do that? I'm like, you weren't done yet. And she's like, you spent that extra time to listen to me? That feels good. Your inner child would appreciate that. Just like she appreciated you setting boundaries and showing up for her tonight. You made her a priority, and that's huge, and she noticed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's take one or two more shares as we wrap up our time together tonight. Anybody else being called to share on their homework or the list or yeah, Tami.
Yeah, just triggering on my homework. I just had to not make it too long. My mom had knee surgery like a month and a half ago, and I work full time, and my sister's retired, but I went every day to, and my mom's on our family farm. Yeah, my dad's gone, passed away. So she loves her flowers. So I planted everything. My sister didn't help. She went to see her like 5 times, but I've gone every day. So I had something going on, and I said, oh, could you please go help mom water the flowers? And she's like, oh, yeah, I got it. So then she texted me, yeah, I went and visited mom, she's doing really good, and her flowers don't need watering today. And it was like a hot day. And so me being, just texted back, okay. So then, never said anything. So then, for the whole next day, I'm just mad. I'm like, she is just so selfish, blah, 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 just going crazy. So then as I look at this and I'm like, but then fine, I just won't even ask her to do anything again, but then after kind of doing my homework, I'm like, okay, basically she is good at setting her boundaries. And if she doesn't, want to do something where if everybody, wants me to do something, yeah, even if I don't have time, I can fit it in. And, so I guess, so I did learn okay, this is me, and I should have just told her, I really would appreciate your help because I've been helping, whatever. But instead, I just got mad and then just brewed and stewed in my head about it for like 2 days. But then I did my homework and like, okay, this is a me thing. And I just need to, talk to her like an adult and say, help me, instead of just being mad and being like, but she's just a bitch, and whatever. So, yeah. So that was my homework.
Good
So,
job. Less
yeah.
That's
reacting, more
huge.
responsive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
feel like that's ego's least favorite thing to do is turn the mirror back, like, oh, this is but when you
yeah.
realize, like, okay, when I'm triggered by someone, sitting with that, like, why is that triggering me? And oftentimes it is because, like, she has boundaries. Like, yeah, and you don't. Like, there's sometimes it's like, I want a little bit of that. I want to be able to, when you can
Yeah.
see that, like, I'm irritated because she actually has boundaries and I don't. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Just,
Yeah, and
yeah.
siblings tend to, just like couples do, polarize.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
so if one person is like the giver and the other is like always the receiver or boundaried, then the older you get, the more you become the giver, which then overgiving leads to the shadow side of overgiving, which is martyrdom,
Yeah.
which is not a fun place to be. And so the conversation really needs to be about the other person coming in a little bit more so that you can come in and stop overgiving a little more. So that's next level. Like Wise Adult 2.0 is I'm not going to react to my sister, I'm going to respond, but I'm also going to have the conversation of, can you come in more so I can back off more?
Yeah. And that I'm going to need to work on myself a little bit to get to that point. But yeah, I will get there.
We are all a work in progress.
Yeah. All
Thanks.
right. Yeah, thanks for coming tonight. Any other shares? Danielle, we didn't hear from you. I just wanted to check in with you.
I'm all good. I like listening because I also I feel like even when we're trying to find our inner child and all the things, I can't find her. No, just trying to know, and I just can't. And I feel like there's some wrong things I can't find her, and that's scary too. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was just listening, and I'm really thankful. And I'm a crier. I'm really sorry.
I love
Do
it.
not
I love your tears.
apologize.
But so I really appreciate that there's other people that really don't know why they're here either, but I just know I need to be. And I really appreciate that they're sharing because I resonate with so many of the things. And I'm a people pleaser, so I know I got problems. So
There are
thank you
songs
for
about us.
it's not that I'm not sharing, I don't know what to say yet.
Yeah, and I just wanted to do a check-in and make sure
Thank you. I
you
appreciate
took
that.
up your space and you were seen and you were here and you were a part of us. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, and remember too that even if there isn't a specific thing, like you just said, everyone, something resonated, like she's coming through. The fact that you allow tears, she's coming through. It may just be, like I said, coming up through that basement door, like, is it safe yet? And
Sure.
we need to lay that foundation. But the fact that you're here, you're showing up.
Well, I need Kleenexes for next time too. That was dumb.
But again, that you're allowing feelings to surface when these other women are talking, like she's there.
Yeah.
And the more you continue to show up, be like, I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm here. These women are safe.
Yeah. It's a great feeling. I love the community of all of you ladies. So I appreciate that. And so I'm not trying to be quiet. I'm just trying to find her.
yeah, thanks for sharing that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to just go over our homework assignment a little bit. Some of you that have worked with me maybe have done this, but you do it again. Like there's always something new that comes out of it. It is the Dear Adaptive Child letter. It's in the workbook. And I would encourage you to do it this way, and you can do it whatever way you want, but here's the way that you can hold space for it. Plan maybe a 30-minute period of time. I journal every morning, so this is like not that big of a deal for me. So if it becomes hard for you, just try to push that muscle a little bit of self-reflection. But give yourself at least 30 minutes more if you want. I would encourage you to take out a couple pictures of yourself across your lifespan. I know Tami does a lot of work with pictures of herself across her lifespan. Sometimes it helps us kind of jive on the like remember that memory and who I used to be kind of thing. It can help support the work. And I would put your pictures out in front of you and your notebook, and you're going to write Dear Adaptive Child. If you have a name for her, you can do that. And you're going to first start out thanking her for all that she's done for you, and even give her some details of the things. Here's what you've given me: qualities of the adaptive child, like empathy and my love for animals and my whimsy, my creativity, whatever she's given to you. And also just like I was a fighter. I was fierce, and like I was the first one to I threw a dart one time at my sister and it landed in her arm. Like I was the first one to like fight back. If somebody was gonna go at me when I was little, I was spunky as heck. I like that fierceness still. I don't want to throw darts at people for sure, but I like the fierceness that I still do have. When I see an underdog, I'm like fiercely right by that person's side. So I don't want to leave that behind. Um, Here's what you've cost me though. Be specific about the cost, both internally and externally. You cost me a job, cost me that relationship. You cost me 5 years of my life in a relationship I never should have been in in the first place. You cost me my self-esteem. You cost me irreparable damage to my friend back in college. Like, what was it that she's cost you in your life? And then number 4 is I'm here now and I can take care of both of us. And here's how it's gonna be. So this is where you lay down the law and be very specific about what limits you're going to be setting with your adaptive child. So for me, I give myself a responsible timeout. I don't email back people for 24 hours. I wait to have important conversations with my partner when my wise adult's online, if at all possible. So those are just a few of mine. And then love your wise adult. Sign your name, how you currently address yourself now. And what we're going to be doing with those is when we come together next time, we'll just do a very brief check-in, and then we're going to do breakout rooms with you and just one other woman. If we need a throuple, we'll do a throuple, but with you and one other woman, and you'll each be witnessed in your reading of your letter, and then spend a little bit of time together with some reflective questions, and then we'll come back to the large group. How does that feel? Go ahead. All right.
I have a quick question that I probably just missed because of week 1, but you've referred a couple of times to a workbook.
Yep, it's in the community that's on Kajabi. I don't know if you got an invite to join the Kajabi community.
Probably, because that's how I got the Zoom link, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's that
Okay.
community. You might have gotten the Zoom link also with an email. But I'll send you, after we get done here tonight, I'll send you another password reset, and you can kind of, if you want to use the Kajabi community,
Okay.
you can.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then also, if anybody doesn't have their workbook or they're not able to access the community, just send me a message and I can problem solve that with you. Okay. Tami, is there anything else that you want to share as we end our time together tonight?
Oh, this is great. I just put the link in for that podcast I was talking about in case anyone needs some, get the wheels turning, because I gave you lots of examples in that episode. Just again, how my people pleaser completely sabotaged me and my physical body, but abandoned my inner child, and how I hurt other people. And so it can help you kind of see. And then I had a good heart to heart with my ego, like, we can't do this anymore. So my adult self needed to show up. So if that helps, just kind of get the wheels turning for you, that resource is in there for you. So yeah, I think the more that I like Christie talk about that separation, and sometimes we can just give ourselves that pause, because even with mine doing all this work, sometimes it swoops in so fast. I don't even get a chance. It's like it shut the car door before I had a chance to get in the driver's seat. My ego's like, but if we can take that pause, you can allow your wise adult to be like, hey, hold up here. Let's just take a moment. Like giving yourself that little bit of a pause. But I think being able to see yourself separate from it has allowed me to be more compassionate with myself. If I were to go in the pantry and start, mindlessly eating, binge eating, I don't beat myself up about that anymore, because I'm like, oh, like maybe I didn't have that moment to pause. I missed that moment. I got locked out. But now I can look back like, okay, why did my adaptive child think that was the best solution? And what could I do next time to make sure that I get in the car door and can take over the driver's seat and be like, we're not doing that. We need to sit with this. We need to feel this. We need to call someone. We need to whatever. But I'm much more compassionate with myself now, because I can see how my adaptive child was just trying to protect my inner child, how it was trying to. So that's huge. We don't have to guilt or shame or beat ourselves up anymore. We have done that our entire lives. And when you see it through this lens, you're like, I get why I'm a people pleaser now. I understand why I have a hard time with boundaries. I understand why I can't make myself a priority and get out of work on time to go exercise and meet my own goals. Like, it's not because I'm lazy, unmotivated, or whatever. And it helps you really learn how to love all of the parts of you again. So I'm excited for your letters.
Yeah. And to say goodbye tonight, I'd like you to think about what your inner child needed most during that visualization and just give it voice. This week, I'm going to give my inner child this week. So I'll go first. For me this week, I'm going to give my inner child a lot more attention, like just attention. She needs more attention, and I'm going to give that to her this week. She needs to be seen.
I'm going to let my inner child continue to speak up for what she wants and needs. That it's safe to do that.
I'm going to give mine some compassion.
I'm going to give mine a little more attention and voice.
I'm gonna let mine be seen. I gotta find her, so I'm gonna try to find her.
Bring her along.
Yeah,
Yes,
like, come on. No more hide and seek. Let's love that.
I'm gonna give mine more voice too, and hugs.
Sorry, I'm on my phone and I can't figure out how to
Beautiful.
unmute myself. I'm gonna give her compliments and tell her she's doing a good job.
Good. Very cool.
Just, I wish I could
Alright.
take a screenshot right now of everyone's energy and everyone.
Joe Lover.
Oops.
Everyone just feels like this calm, peaceful, grounded, loved, nurtured energy around all of you, because everyone's inner child is like lock in this feeling, ground in this feeling right now before you go to bed tonight, because that was beautiful. It just shifted into lovely goodness. So
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Did you all hear what I keep in my phone for my partner? Did it come up on the recording? Yeah, he's in my phone as Joe Lover because I always want to think of him as like my lover. So it's kind of funny because when it does ring in, it's like I'm in the middle of the grocery store, Joe Lover.
I love that. All those little reminders though, all of it. That's why I have pictures everywhere of my inner child. Like I need to, it helps me come back. So those things are
Yeah.
helpful. Awesome.
All right. Have a good night and we'll see you all. And Pamela, I'm gonna send you a link for the community again. Yeah. All right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Mhm.